Hi, welcome to episode 49 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. I'm Laura, also known as Fluffy K on Ravelry, Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog, and this episode's show notes will be over at thecornerofknitandtea.com. I have an Etsy shop, The Stash Buckler, Adventures in Yarn, where I sell my handspun yarns. And we have a Ravelry group called The Corner of Knit and Tea. Hello, welcome to episode 49. It is Sunday, August 9th, 2015, and it is wonderful to see you again. I hope that you have had a wonderful week. Mine was very busy, and I have so much knitting and spinning to do, and I'm so excited about it, and I just feel overwhelmed. And when I was little, my mom used to say, the faster I go, the behinder I get. And I sort of feel like I didn't get a lot done this week, but I think I did get a fair amount done. So I will show you some things. We also have the drawing from the 1-year anniversary episode, so I will go ahead and announce the winners of those. And then I have a new segment today, which is a review of a product that was sent to me. So it should be a big episode. Our week here was pretty good. Like I said, it was super busy. The weekend has been nice. The weather has been atrocious. We have had heat indexes and heat warnings every day. We actually did go out and do a walk yesterday morning, and it was so gross. But we got several miles in, which I needed to do because we went for a big fancy dinner last night, which was absolutely delicious. And today we are celebrating our 7th wedding anniversary. So we are going to go out a little bit later, and the restaurant that we really wanted to go to is not open on Sundays, which is why we went last night. But we'll go out a little bit later, and I have been joking that this year is our 7-11 anniversary. We have been married for 7 years and together for 11, so we're going to go get Slurpees from 7-Eleven later, which I just thought was funny. So that is what I'm up to. As I said, I hope you have had a wonderful week, and I will get started with the show. So today I am drinking iced tea. I have it iced in my Tervis mug. You can see right here. I decided to try some all-natural organic Moroccan mint by Bigelow. I received this in a swap, and I thought iced mint tea would be perfect for a really hot day. So like I said, I put this in my Tervis mug. I made it like I usually do, a cup of extra strong tea. I used probably about 5 ounces of water, brewed the mint for quite a while so it would be nice and strong, and then poured it over ice, which is now entirely gone, so it should be chilly, I hope, and that is Moroccan mint tea. Ooh, that's delicious and really refreshing on a really hot day. I definitely like that one. So, Bigelow Moroccan mint tea. Links will be in the show notes, which, like I said, are over at thecornerofknitandtea.com. So, let's get into the knitting and spinning content. I have one finished object for you today. Last week I was showing you my zigzag scarf. This is a pattern by Christy Cam. It is a free pattern on Ravelry, and she uses two, I can't remember which yarn she uses, but she uses 2 balls of yarn with long color repeats. And I did the same. I did Noro Silk Garden. Oh, the light is perfect today. And I just alternated every couple rows. The nice thing about this pattern that I have mentioned before, and it is a free pattern on Ravelry, is that there is only one stitch pattern. It is the same thing every row. So you just do the same stitch pattern every single row, and you alternate skeins every other row. So I love all the crazy colors in this. It is my wingspan, which is lovely. It will be a great scarf come fall, and I love color. And this was my entry for the Rainbow Knits Along, and this was the project that I started for the Love Wins Knit Along, which was in honor of the June 26th Supreme Court decision. So that is Zigzag Scarf, and that is in the books. I have to tell you, I will probably knit this again. I would love to knit it with hand spun. I think it would also be great with Zauber balls. So this was a super fun pattern, and I definitely think I'll be using it again. So zigzag scarf. Now, like I told you, I had a bunch of things to knit and spin this week, and I kept working on them and feeling like I wasn't getting anywhere. So what's a girl to do? Cast on something new, of course. I have been playing along in Laura, Lala, and Leslie, You Don't Call Me Les, the Knit Girls, in Stash Dash this summer. And basically the goal was from May 22nd to this coming Friday, August 14th. Knit, spin, use up as much as you can in your stash. And I really, because I'm an overachiever, was really trying to go for the 10,000 meters of yarn. And I suspect I am not quite gonna make it. Which is kind of a bummer. I am currently at 9,064 yards, and that does not include the yardage of the other few projects I'm going to show you today, but I suspect I'm somewhere around 94 or 9,500 with the projects that I just finished this week. Zigzag is already counted in that total, and so I don't think I'm quite going to make it. I have one more spin, but based on the yardage, I'm pretty sure I'll get. Yeah. So I'm going to come close, but not quite make it, but that's okay because there's always next year. However, since I was trying to figure out how I might make it, possibly, I of course decided to cast on a new quick project. I'm sure you guys have seen the pattern Rose City Rollers by Mara Brenner, and I went and found some leftovers, and while I was on the treadmill this week, I worked on a Rose City Roller shorty sock. The gray is Knit Picks Stroll in Dove Heather Gray. It is leftover from a stranded hat project that I knit a while ago, and the orange is something that someone gave me when I was working on the crazy colorwork cowl that I was working on, and that is completely, the leftovers cowl. So I just had some of this orange melon color, and I thought they would be cute socks, so I finished the first one. This netted me about, I want to say 80 or 90 yards, so, well, maybe a little bit less. No, about 80 or 90 yards. So if I can finish up the second one, this will be like a 180 yard project. But again, like I said, I still don't think I'm going to make it. We'll have to tune in next week to see if I do, but I don't think so. But yes, so this is a Rose City roller. I actually didn't do the rolling edge in the pattern. I did a real short 2x2 rib. Otherwise, I followed the pattern, and I did kind of a rounded toe, but I believe, I'd have to look back at the pattern, but I believe she actually does put in a pattern for either a more rounded toe or a less rounded toe, and so I just went ahead and did the more rounded toe because I like those. So that is a quickie project, and I may end up doing more of these with leftovers. They're kind of fun. I don't generally wear shorty socks, which is why I haven't done these before, but they were kind of fun to knit, and I might actually use them some in the summer. So we'll see, but hopefully I'll have another one to show you next week. Like I said, Rose City Rollers. So the next project that I worked on is I cast on my Camp Loopy project. This is the third project for the summer. I've explained what Camp Loopy is, so if you're not familiar with it, you can go out and check the Loopy U, which is a store, their blog, or you can go back in my episodes. The third project was due... What was the prompt? I know it has to be at least 800 yards, and it is do a pattern that you've seen somewhere, I think. So it really could be anything. Back when I was starting for Loopy Project 2, if you will remember, I really liked the Wonderland Tank by Nicole Montgomery, and I talked about doing that one, and then I had a lot of trouble casting it on. Some of it was because I was trying to make some modifications, and I kind of threw it aside and switched to that shawl for Loopy 2, but I wanted to go back to this one for Loopy 3. What I decided to do is I decided to mash up patterns. Mary Jane by Sarah Moore is a great sweater pattern, and I have knit it before and have talked about wanting to knit it again. And what I decided to do was take the sweater pattern for Mary Jane and then incorporate the color work from the Wonderland Tank. So what I did this week was I cast on, I believe I cast on Sunday, and I have knit the top part of the sweater. Mary Jane is a raglan a raglan top-down sweater. And you can do short sleeves, or it is knit to be done with short sleeves. I made some modifications. They're all on my project page. This is exactly how I knit the first one. So I have actually gotten through the raglan shaping and have just broken off for the sleeves. As you can see, I have joined so that it is knit in the round up front. Now, I know this looks like a huge gaping neckline. It actually isn't terrible, and there will be an edge, a ribbed edge, that will add some more structure to it. What I am doing now is I have just gone down to the bust. If you recall, the Wonderland tank was a solid one color on top, a solid other color on the bottom, and then it had color work. And I brought my swatch in just so you can see. If you remember, this was the swatch that I did. These are all Woolmize colors. I am going to change up a little bit of the order of the colors in the color work, but it's all going to be the same colors. So what I have done is I have done a few rows of the brown, and now I am going to put the color work in at the bust, and then I will continue the body in brown and then finish off the top in pink. So I am very, very pleased with my progress this week. I had hoped to finish the colorwork section to show you today, and unfortunately I was working on it last night and realized that I forgot to go up a size. Generally what you do is if you're putting colorwork into a garment that has solid parts, you knit the solid parts on one needle size, and then when you go to knit the colorwork, because of the tension, you go up a needle size. And I realized about 4 rows into the colorwork that I had not gone up a needle size like I should have, and it was pulling in, and I was afraid it would be really tight right around the boobs, which is not really what I wanted. So I pulled it out, and I will sit down, and it was already 9:30 at night. I had had a glass of wine at our nice dinner, and I decided that it was not the time to start knitting again. So I pulled it out, got everything back on the needles and ready to go, and I will work on the color work today, and then I will work on the body throughout the week, and hopefully I will have significant progress on that by the next time I see you. So like I said, this is a mashup of Mary Jane and Wonderland tank, and all the details are on my project page about all the little modifications that I've made. Mary Jane actually is a pattern written for sport weight, so I have done the modifications to size it down for fingering weight. The colors are Woolmize. The top, the pink, is Woolmize Fuchsia, and the bottom brown is Ebenholz. That is a chocolatey brown, and I will talk about more about the colors that I use in the color work next week when I have the color work section to show you. So that is my Camp Loopy. So that is the end of the knitting section for this week. I feel like I got so little accomplished, and the truth is I actually did fairly well, but I just feel like I have so many things to do and so many projects to cast on, and there just aren't enough hours in the day. I really need to quit my job and stay home and knit all day, except that then I couldn't afford the habit of knitting. So I guess I'm still gonna go to work. So that is what's on my needles this week. So let me switch tracks to what I have spun this week. Last week I showed you the rest of my Tour de Fleece spins, and I talked about a spin that I was doing for a review, which I will show you later in the podcast. So the other thing that I did when I finished the review fibers is I went ahead and picked up the last spin that I had started during Tour de Fleece, but had not finished. I had spun about half the singles. This is some fiber from Spunky Eclectic. It was one of the Mega Sal fibers, and I spun a skein of this already and loved it. And then somebody in one of the Mega Sal threads posted what she did with her fiber, and I was like, I need to buy some more of that. I need to do that too. So this is Spunky Eclectic Octarine, which has all kinds of beautiful purples and greens and teals. And it's got this electric yellow color, and it had a little bit of the electric yellow color in it. And I asked Amy of Spunky Eclectic what semi-solid color she thought would go well with it. And what I did is I bought 4 ounces of Octarine and 2 ounces of Ginkgo, which is that bright, bright yellow. And I added chunks of the bright, bright yellow in there, and I spun it all up. That gave me 6 ounces of fiber. And I spun it up using a chain ply so that I could knit stripy socks for myself. So I'm very happy with the colors. I'm not 100% happy with my spinning, mostly because I had 6 ounces of fiber and I ended up with somewhere around probably 280 to 300 yards of yarn. I really do not, I don't enjoy Navajo or chain plying that much, and I also really dislike the detraction in yardage and the fact that I end up with a really thick yarn. I don't spin thin enough to get a fingering 3-ply. So, and this one was kind of a quick spin, so I should have known better. My guess is it's sport in some places, but it's probably almost DK to worsted. I will be fine on the yardage because I have small feet and I have totally used just about the same yardage and gotten almost knee socks out of something before. So I just wish it was a little bit thinner, and also that I had gotten a little more yardage because I'm still playing Stash Dash, and this is probably only going to add maybe 250 meters, maybe a little bit less. So this was kind of at the point that I also figured out that I was probably not going to hit 10,000 meters for Stash Dash. So that is that. You will see these socks being cast on sometime in the next couple months. I have a few other things that I need to do first, but I am totally in love with these. So that is my sock yarn. So that means it is time to spin something new. This week I selected one to spin for the shop, since I haven't put anything in the shop in the last week or so. This was a club colorway that I fell in love with and managed to find someone who would sell me some. This is Into the World. It was a club colorway from 2012. It is called Aurora Borealis, and while she did it on I think a merino silk fiber, this is the non-luxury option. This is Blue Faced Leicester. So it is super soft, and I think it's going to be gorgeous, and I haven't quite decided how I'm going to spin that this week. I will either 2-ply barber pole or I will 2-ply fractal. I just can't decide if I want like long color progression stripes or if I want kind of all mixed up and barber poley. So this will be what I will spin this week, and this will be done next week and then go in the shop. So keep an eye out for it. So that brings me to most of the end of my business, or most of the end of what I've been working on this week. A minor business note is that I need to do the drawing for the 1-year anniversary. I want to thank you for all of your wonderful comments. People left some really, really, really nice comments in the drawing thread, and I appreciate the feedback. And I'm so glad that you're enjoying the podcast. I have a great time doing it. So I went ahead and drew numbers beforehand. What I did is we had 42 entries. Well, we had 42 posts, which means we had 41 entries. I ran the numbers 2 through 42 because the first post was mine, and I ended up with 2 winners. First of all, for this lovely skein of Woolmize in the Verzebert colorway. Oops, upside down. In the Verzebert colorway, which, like I said, almost looks mermaidy. This is not showing up quite so well, but the picture that I posted in the thread is very color accurate. The winner for that is post number 34, and I don't know how to pronounce this. It's Pokdej in Vancouver, British Columbia. You are the winner of the Woolmize, and I noted in your post that that was actually what you said you were interested in. So please PM me on Ravelry, send me your address, and I will get this out to you. The second winner is for the, I'm not going to take it out because it's it'll make lots of crinkly noises. This is for the 2 If by Hand superwash fiber. I misspoke last week on the colorway name. The colorway name is Cherry Fresh. And like I said, this is a 2 If by Hand dyed braid. And the winner of that is post number 9, El Mikal. You are the lucky winner. So if you would like the fiber to spin for yourself, I cannot remember whether you are a spinner. Please let me know. If you would like me to spin it for you, I'll need about a week to spin that up. Either way, please PM me on Ravelry with your contact information and your preference. So congratulations to those winners. And like I said, thank you for joining me for a year. So I'm going to pause this for just one moment and reset up my table with my review stuff, and I will be right back with you for a new segment. This one I'm going to call Spin Me because it is a review of spinning fiber. So hang on just a moment. And we're back. And that's a little homage to Kimmy Knits on the Come Knit With Us podcast. So, about 4 weeks ago now, I was contacted by the folks over at Stitchcraft Marketing to see if I would be interested in doing some product reviews for them. And I was super excited about it and said, of course I would be interested. And the first thing she told me, the representative who I spoke with told me, was that Louet was putting together big boxes of fiber for Spinzilla, which is a spinning competition put on for, I believe, about 7 or 8 days in October. And it is a fundraiser for TNNA, which is the Needle Arts Association, which is the sort of governing body for, not governing body, trade association for knitters, designers, textile makers. And they put on a conference every year, and one of the things that they do is they do Spinzilla as a fundraiser, and it's a great fiber contest. So Louet is putting together boxes for people to spin for Spinzilla. They are offering 1 box a month, which is a collection of their fibers, and generally ends up between 3 and 4 pounds of fiber. So they sent me the July box, and so when I was told that this is what that they wanted to send me a box of fiber, I assumed that I would be receiving maybe a pound, maybe 2, of various assorted fibers to sample and try and spin. So you can imagine my surprise when what I received was this big box. This was 3 pounds and 10 ounces of fiber, of their various fibers. And I will talk a little bit about each one because what I decided to do, so originally I said, oh yeah, I'll spin up that box and I'll go ahead and review the fibers. And then I realized that there was almost 4 pounds of fiber in this box and that was totally not going to be possible. So what I did was I spun samples of all of these different fibers, and I will talk a little bit about each one to you. Now, each box for each month is a different selection of fibers. So July's was one selection. There is another box that's up for August that is a completely different selection. The other thing that I will tell you is if you're looking for a little bit more in-depth review, I did do a blog post. It was published this past Friday, so you can look over at thecornerofknitandtea.com. It has links to all the fibers that I'm talking about at Louet. It has links to the July box. There are still a few left. And it has links to the August box, which looks very tempting, but I think I'm probably going to sit on my hands because I still have 3 pounds of fiber to spin up. So let's talk about the fibers that they sent me. I'm going to talk about these in the order that I spun them. Basically, when I looked at the fibers, there were a few that I thought would be a little bit more challenging to me. So I had 7 different types of fiber in that box, and I tried to alternate between what I thought would be an easier spin and a more challenging spin so that I would have fun while I was doing this. So the first yarn that I decided to spin was Louet's Dark Coopworth, and this is a rich chocolatey brown fiber. It was delivered to me in, it looked like it had been carded, but not super processed. It was super, super fluffy. It wasn't super soft, but it's not super rough either. It's definitely more of a rustic wool. I think it would make a great sweater, a great winter sweater. Probably not perfect for next to the skin wear. The other thing that I will say is that while it was definitely washed and processed, there was still a little bit of vegetable matter in it. So as I was spinning it, I did have to kind of pull some stuff out. It wasn't a ton, and it wasn't gross. It was just, twigs and leaves and things like that. But there was a little bit because it's not super processed. This one, it looks like I spun about 35 grams, which is 1.2 ounces, and I got 71 yards of a 2-ply. After it washed, like I said, it's not super rough. I'm not sure that I'd wear it like right up against my neck, but it would make a great fluffy sweater, and it is just this rich chocolatey brown color, which I fear is not coming across as well as I would like it to. But this was a really pleasurable spin and a great way to start off the box. The second spin was something that I had not spun before. This is a 60-40 wool linen blend. So it's 60% merino and 40% linen. Like I said, I have never spun. I've worked with linen before, but I have never spun linen before. It was very interesting because you could definitely see in the fiber, you could see the kind of fluffy, crimpy merino and the smoother, coarser linen. I didn't spin this in any special way. I kind of just went with what I knew. I probably should have looked it up a little bit more because I will say that it's a little bit crunchy. I probably overspun it a little bit. Later when I looked it up, it said you want to spin linen with low tension and as low twist as you can. But I went ahead and spun this. It was, I think it would be a really great blend for summer items. And I also know with linen, just from knitting it and from wearing it, that the more times that you wash and wear linen, the better it is. The softer it will get. So, I'm sorry, I keep saying linen, but I actually mean flax, which I believe translates to linen, but wool and flax. So this is the Louet 60-40 wool. I guess it says linen top. It was 43 grams, 1.5 ounces, and 61 yards. So that was the second. That meant it was time to go with a slightly easier spin. This is Gray Gotland Sliver. It has been carded, but was not totally processed into roving. It was super fluffy and super soft to touch. The yarn that it has created is a little bit more rustic. Again, I think it would make a great, great sweater. But I think that it might not be for right up next to the skin wear. I think I'd be a little bit sensitive to it. The only complaint I had about this one was that it shed quite a bit. As you can see, it's got a bit of a halo to it, and my lap was kind of full of very, very, very short little, I don't even know what they would be, but very, very, very little short wispies. And so next time I would probably spin with a towel on my lap. But this is beautiful. I had been told by one of the other spinners that it was absolutely to die for, and she's hoping to do a sweater in it. So this is super fun, and it's just a wonderful, it's kind of hard to tell, but it's like just a very tweedy, fluffy gray. This one I spun. This is called the Carded Gray Gotland, and it is 36 grams, 1.3 ounces, and 69 yards. Next spin I was super excited about, but I was also a little bit nervous about. This is 100% light brown cashmere. Now, for those of you who have spun before, and for those of you who know cashmere is a really, really short stapled fiber. Often they blend it with some other things to like wool to make it a little bit easier to spin. This was the softest thing ever. I pulled it out of the box and it was seriously like spinning kittens. I would totally do it again. I was a little apprehensive about spinning it, however, because it is so short stapled, and I was kind of afraid that I might break my singles or that it might not hold together super well. So I didn't end up drafting it super thin. I ended up with more of a worsted weight. There were 2 ounces of cashmere in here because it's a more premium fiber. Everything else came in half-pound bags, I should say. And there was a pound of the Carded Gray Gotland. So this is, I ended up spinning about half the cashmere. This is just under an ounce, and I got 40 yards of a squishy worsted weight. I have to say, it ended up being a much more pleasurable spin than I was afraid it might be, and the finished product is amazing. I really might order some more of this because this is just, it's kittens. Kittens. Because this was such a success, I decided to reverse the order on the next one and try another new to me fiber. And this was probably the one in the box that I was most apprehensive about spinning. This is 100% superfine flax. So I went ahead and looked up some suggestions online, and I found an excellent Nitty tutorial on how to spin flax. That is linked in my review, and I will link it in the show notes. And I would highly recommend that if you're interested in spinning flax, that you try that. Flax is super interesting to spin. I guess I haven't spun too many plant fibers, and I really haven't spun anything that's 100% plant fiber. So the article suggested that I spin this from the fold, which I know how to spin from the fold, but I have not really done a spin from the fold. So this one I did spin from the fold, which basically means you tear off a staple length of fiber and you wind it over your finger, and you spin kind of from the center of it. So you're spinning like you basically make a U with the fiber and over your hand, and then you're spinning from the bottom of the U, and it is supposed to make for a lighter, fluffier spin. Again, as I mentioned, they wanted you to spin this with as little tension as possible and try not to over twist. I probably over twisted because what I have here feels like twine. So not necessarily what you're going for. The other interesting thing about linen is that when you're done, they suggest that you boil the finished product. All of my yarns and all of the other yarns I spun for this project, for this review, I washed and thwacked like normal. This one I actually set on the stove with some water and just a little bit of dish soap, and boiled it for about 15 minutes. It is still really not very soft to the touch, so I have thought about whether or not I want to boil it again and see if I can make it just a little bit softer. Plant fibers do not felt, so there is no worry of that. The Nitty article basically says you can leave it in boiling water for as long as you want to. So that is mostly what I have to say about that. I still have almost 7 ounces left, or a little over 7 ounces. This is 31 grams, 1.1 ounces, and 63 yards. This is one that I will probably spin again just because I'd like to try and make it a little bit less like twine. So this was probably the most interesting spin in the package for me, just because it was a new fiber and a new technique. And while there were some other new fibers in the package, this was definitely the one that I was least prepared to spin before I got it. But I am pretty happy with what I learned from it. The last 2 spins were pretty easy spins and probably my most pleasurable ones. This one is Louet has a variety of merino. It's 100% merino in a million colors. This one is called Quaddy Bay, and it is kind of a steely gray. And I spun this up pretty quickly. It drafts nicely, and I ended up with 42 grams, 1.5 ounces, 86 yards. The only thing I will say about these is I generally like, these are pretty solid, and I generally like to spin kind of semi-solid or kettle dyed. But if you are doing color work, this would be fabulous because you could order some of these and spin them up, and they come in a million different colors. So this was, this was actually top. So it was super smooth, super easy to draft, and I really liked it. The final spin in the box was Optim Merino, which I had never spun before. It is beautiful. It is in this beautiful white colorway, and it almost feels a little bit, it's super soft. It almost feels a little bit silky, and it's got a little bit of a shimmer to it. This drafted amazingly. It wanted to spin thin. I ended up with 40 grams, 1.4 ounces, 112 yards, which puts it at probably a heavy fingering weight. And this one I am dying to go back and spin the rest of the bag. The only question I have for myself is whether I want it to stay pure white or whether I want to go ahead and play around with it, dyeing it. But this was an absolutely lovely spin. It was a perfect way to end my spinning adventure with this box. And while it was a new to me fiber, it was just absolutely pleasurable. So these are a few of the fibers. I have plenty more in the box. Like I said, The box was 3 pounds, 10 ounces, and this is 8.8 ounces. So I still have over 3 pounds in that box. To me, this was exciting because it was a bunch of new to me fibers and some techniques, and I have enough left over even after sampling. Most of these I have 7 ounces left over. The carded gray Gotland, I still have almost a pound left. So it was just lots of fun to kind of get to sample a variety of different things. Also, if you love natural colors, this was a great box. It's all pretty much natural colors. Although I guess they probably boxed them randomly, and the merino, I believe, they put in other colors besides gray. But I ended up with just a little bit of everything. So I want to thank Louet for sending me the box and Stitchcraft Marketing for talking to me. They sent the box itself, like I said, is 3 pounds, 10 ounces of fiber. It retails for $75. All of their boxes do. I checked out the August box and it looks like it is right around 3 pounds of fiber. It retails for $75 as well. The actual retail value of all of these fibers for the box that I received is $196, I believe, if you bought them all separately. So if you're looking for a really good deal and a bunch of different fibers to sample, this box is definitely your way to go. They did send me the box for free, so I will disclaim that. Otherwise, they did not compensate me for my review. This is all my own, and I just wanted to share it with you. So that concludes my first review section and this week's podcast. I hope that you have enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them here on YouTube, or you can contact me on Ravelry. I am Fluffy K on Ravelry, and my inbox is always open. There is also a Ask Me Anything thread in the Corner of Knit and Tea Ravelry group, and I address all those questions on air. So I will say, as I always do, this has been a little bit of a long episode, and thank you for tuning in with me. And until I see you again, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.